There are some truths buried so deep they were never meant to surface. And yet, in 2018, beneath the rotting floorboards of Salem's oldest meeting house, a leather-bound book surfaced like a corpse rising from its grave. The pages, brittle. The ink, red-black as dried blood. It documented over 200 names, men, women, and children, each marked with a date, a property valuation, and a chilling phrase, acquisition complete. History tells us only 19 souls were executed during the Salem witch trials. But this book, this ledger of the damned, suggests the true count approached 237. And every death tied back to one name, Blackwell. Judge Ezekiel Blackwell. Reverend Nathaniel Blackwell. Sheriff Josiah Blackwell. 3 brothers who ruled Salem like monarchs cloaked in scripture. 3 brothers whose descendants today own nearly half of Salem's historic district. But the most haunting entry of all? A single line dated October 1720. 5 words beside a young woman's name, Mercy Blackwell, family matter resolved. If you're still watching, understand this isn't entertainment. This isn't history the way you were taught in school. This is the other side of history, the side they burned, buried, and banished into silence. And it will change the way you see the world forever. Salem in 1692 wasn't merely a town gripped by religious panic. It was a stage set for the perfect crime. 500 souls surrounded by choking forests and an even darker wilderness of fear. The Blackwell family's home stood like a fortress across from the meeting house, its glass windows, rare in those days, gleaming like the eyes of a predator watching its prey. Judge Ezekiel Blackwell was the eldest. At 46, his gaze could freeze a man's blood. Reverend Nathaniel Blackwell preached fire and damnation with a voice that seemed to shake the rafters of heaven itself. And Sheriff Josiah Blackwell, broad-shouldered, his carved walking stick a tool for both authority and punishment. Together, they controlled the law, the pulpit, and the sword. But influence is a hungry thing. And when new families threatened their grip on Salem, families like the Putnams, the Porters, and the Proctors, the brothers found a way to turn fear into power. The winter of 1691 was a hard one. Food stores dwindled. Illness spread. Neighbors whispered about devils in the woods. And then, the first accusations began. It started small. A few young girls convulsing on the floor, screaming of invisible torments. But within weeks, accusations multiplied. Respectable wives accused of witchcraft. Farmers condemned for blighting crops and poisoning livestock. The whole town spiraled into hysteria, or so it seemed. Behind the scenes, the Blackwell brothers stoked the flames. Ezekiel presided over trials with cold efficiency. Nathaniel roared from the pulpit, warning of Satan's hand in the community. And Josiah dragged the accused from their homes in the dead of night. But to Mercy Blackwell, Ezekiel's daughter and Nathaniel's ward, it became clear this was no divine crusade. In secret, she began piecing together the truth. A pattern emerged: every accused family owned property coveted by the Blackwells. And each seizure was documented in a hidden ledger she alone was ordered to maintain. The ledger's pages were meticulous. Names. Properties. Debts. Next to each victim, acquisition complete or matter concluded. Mercy's pale hands trembled each time she inked a new name. The widow Porter had refused to sell her riverside land. Weeks later, she was dragged screaming into the night. A month later, the Blackwells owned her farm. One spring night, as Mercy crept past her father's study, she overheard laughter. "The Porter widow's land is ours," Ezekiel said. Her resistance was brief. Nathaniel's voice joined in, low and cold: "Salvation comes through suffering. Even for her." Something twisted in Mercy's stomach. She realized then that Salem's witch panic wasn't hysteria. It was a machine. A machine designed by her family to strip the town bare. As summer settled over Salem, the gallows grew busy. Necks snapped. Bodies swung. And the Blackwells grew richer. But there were whispers, too quiet for most to hear, of things far worse than hangings. Secret examinations in the Blackwell basement. Prisoners who never reached trial. Graves in the swamp where the earth churned like it was digesting something foul. One July evening, Mercy was ordered to bring wine to her father's basement study. She froze at the doorway. There, strapped to a chair, was Thomas Putnam, a man who'd refused to sell his mill to Ezekiel. His fingers bent at impossible angles. His eyes, swollen shut, flicked open as Mercy entered. "They made me say it," he croaked. "God forgive me." Josiah's stick cracked across his jaw. "The devil makes you lie. We make you speak God's truth." Mercy fled, bile rising in her throat. That night, she copied pages from the ledger, hiding them under her bedroom floorboards. If you're still watching, take this moment to breathe. You've seen the edges of the Blackwell machine. But the heart, the engine, is still ahead. Now, I want you to prove you're awake. Prove you're more than another passive viewer. In the comments, type, "I break the Blackwell chain." Write it once. Then write it again. Lock it in. This phrase is not just for the algorithm. It's a declaration. Because once you hear what comes next, you'll never see power the same way again.